AEW Revolution 2026 is in the books, and my God, we haven't even taken a breather yet. Man, oh man, that Texas death match was something crazy. That was absolutely wild, as I have my volume on too loud over there. I apologize for that. Revolution just went off the air, and it was pretty typical for an AEW pay-per-view. If anything, this one gave us even more than what we are used to, because we got an assload of returns and a couple of debuts, couple of title changes, and one hell of a Texas deathmatch main event there. I knew that Hangman and MJF would be a good match. I had no doubt about that. Especially, and I knew it was going to be violent and all of that stuff, but I think they went even beyond what I was expecting with the syringe in the cheek coming out the other side. We had skewers, we had broken glass, we had barbed wire chairs, we had multiple dead eyes and tombstones through tables, we had electrocutions, we had everything in the world that you could possibly imagine in this match. And to my surprise, MJF did win, which I did predict, but I predicted him to have some help. He did not need any help. He beat Hangman Page straight up. And now, as Mike Witt is saying there with a $2 super chat, very confused, what does Hangman Page do now? Well, we talked about this earlier, that at some point in the future, obviously, they're going to have to undo the stipulation here. And there's really a lot of ways you can do that. It depends on how long you want to keep this thing in effect, how long you want to keep him out of the title picture. You know, you could just do it in a couple of months, or you could wait a while. You could wait a year, and you can have some sort of a match where he can get the opportunity back, or you can just wait it out until he turns heel. And when he turns heel, in the future, if he goes heel again, which I'm sure he will at some point, then it's much easier for him to wiggle his way back into the world title picture, because he's a chicken shit heel sleazebag type of thing, where if he's stand-up babyface and they go back on their word, you know, it doesn't make him look too babyfacey. But for a heel, no big deal, right? So I think sometime in the future, Hangman might go heel, and then that stipulation will come back into effect. And who knows, maybe it'll result in a heel Hangman versus a babyface MJF to reverse the decision or something like that, or to reverse the contract. So it can be undone. It doesn't mean, I don't think it means what it meant for Cody, where Cody really was going to legitimately not challenge for that title ever again. Hangman will get the opportunity again one day, and at least for the immediate future, if you don't have plans for him to be a world champion, you can get away with a stipulation like this. Because if he's going to have MJF, if Tony Khan's going to have MJF hold the title until All In and potentially drop it to Will Ospreay, then Ospreay's going to have his run. You know, it's going to be a year anyway before Hangman is, you know, got a chance to be world champion again. So he might not be able to get any title matches, but in terms of him being world champion again, I don't think he was going to be, at least for another year anyway. So you can do a stip like this, and, you know, in a year's time, 10, 11 months' time, however long it's going to be, you can revisit it and undo it. It's pro wrestling. Everything can be undone. So it's not a deal breaker, I don't think, for Hangman Page long term, and I think he will eventually find his way back into the world title picture. So we are going to talk about it here. We're going to go through the entire card here. Thank you to everyone who was here watching the show with us. It was definitely a long one. Went about 4 hours and 40 minutes, which is very long, but the show was in LA, out here in Southern California. So it's only 9:45 at night here, where on the East Coast, you are pushing 1 a.m., and it's a Sunday night, and you might have to wake up and go to work tomorrow. So if you do and you're here, props to you for being a stud, staying up late, and hanging out with us tonight as we discuss AEW Revolution. Now, we're going to jump right into this here because I've already been streaming for about close to 5 hours here, and we should be wrapping this up. But I do want to review the show because it was pretty damn good, and oh my God, they hit us with a whole bunch of fun shit right off the bat on the main card, where I think it was 1, 2, 3. The first 4 out of 5 matches had either a return or a debut, which was pretty cool. So they were kind of setting the tone for the night that be prepared, you could really see anything here. But let's start with what went down on the 0 hour. I really only watched the Battle Royal because I was getting ready for the stream during the other stuff. But on the 0 hour, we did have Boom and Doom defeating the Infantry. We also had Willow Nightingale retaining her TBS title, defeating Lena Cross. And in that Blackjack Battle Royal that was going to have Ricochet defend his national title in, I said yesterday in the predictions that it's hard to predict because we don't know who's in it. And if Jack Perry was in it, I was going to predict him to win, but I didn't know if he was in it or not. So I can't predict somebody to win the Battle Royal who I don't even know for sure is in the Battle Royal. So I went with the better odds. I predicted Ricochet to retain, and it was, in fact, Jack Perry, who did arrive in a bus with Luchasaurus, and it came down to him and Ricochet in the end, and he eliminated Ricochet, winning the Battle Royal and becoming the new national champion. I thought Ricochet would retain here, and then Jack Perry would beat him in their one-on-one encounter for the belt. Now, I guess Jack Perry's going to have to defend against Ricochet because I would assume they're going to have a one-on-one match. So went 2-1 there in the pre-show. Overall, quickly in my predictions, if you count the 0 hour, there were 13 matches. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 matches out of the 13 I got correct. 9 matches right, 4 matches wrong. 1 match wrong on the 0 hour, and 3 matches wrong on the main card. I predicted incorrectly Moxley and Takeshita, Tekla and Statlander, and the Trios Championship match I predicted incorrectly as well because the Callis family just won them damn things, but they dropped them here tonight to Mystico and Jet Speed, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the main card opened up with the AEW Tag Team title match, FTR and the Young Bucks. FTR versus the Young Bucks. Now, this is a really good match, and I had predicted FTR to win, but when the match started, you had the Young Bucks, much like Jack Perry, who had his mom and sister in the front row to watch him win the national title on the 0 hour. And, of course, he was sitting in that very front row at SummerSlam way back in the day with his dad. So this was kind of a revisit of that. That was really nice. And then they opened up the main card with the same thing. Actually, let me reiterate, the main card, the Battle Royal actually spilled over into the main card. I should have mentioned that. So the main card actually finished up the Battle Royal. That's where Jungle Boy won. And then the first full match on the main card was the tag team title match, FTR defending against the Young Bucks. This thing was great, but I was worried that I was going to get my prediction wrong because the Young Bucks came out with all their kids. I never really knew how many kids Matt and Nick had. Looked to be about 3 each. So you had 6 fucking Rugrats out there, all in Young Bucks gear, coming out there, dancing around. They were all at ringside along with Daddy Buck to watch this. So I thought it was going to be much the same of the Battle Royal, where Jack Perry's family was there to see him win, so maybe the Bucks family are going to be there to see them win as well, as they are not too far from Cucamonga. So it was a bloody match. I was surprised this match had as much blood as it did. At least 2 dudes bled. Dax was bleeding pretty bad, and Nick Jackson was crimson mask, full crimson mask. And I don't know if Cash and Matt bled as well, but they definitely had some blood wiping off on them. And the entire ring mat was filthy by the end of this one. And a lot of fans were like, oh, do we really need this match for a 10,000th time? Yeah, I'm glad we got it. I loved it. I thought it was a really, really fun match, and really, I think, just kind of adds to their rivalry. And I kind of like the violence. I like the near falls. I like that they had me fooled a couple of times. Really, really amazing near falls. And, of course, you got your comic relief. You've got Stokely out there rolling around. He took a hell of a bump off of the wheelchair. I think it was like a dive by the Bucks. Was it like a dive through the middle rope, Suicida, taking out Stokely, something like that. He took a hell of a bump. And there was at least twice where I was completely convinced, nope, Bucks are going to win back the title. Felt like they had FTR cornered there a couple of times. Plus, like I said, their family was at ringside. But in the end, I don't know what the hell was it. It wasn't the Super Shatter machine. I think Matt kicked out of the Super Shatter. You know, this is one of the 2 or 3 matches we had to kick out at one. So there was just a lot of near falls. So, you know, to me, in this very first, you know, actual match, if you don't include the Battle Royal, they were really kind of setting the tone for what they want to do. And this is the normal tone of AEW. Matches like this, near falls like this, blood where you sometimes think it might not be necessary. I thought you could have done less blood here, you know, and put a little bit more in maybe Swerve and Brody. or something. But it was really bloody, really violent, really fun, all sorts of near falls, and to the point where I thought that the Bucks were actually going to win the titles. But I was of the belief that FTR was going to keep those belts. The whole point of them being champion is so they can pass them to Cope and Christian. But Cope and Christian have been gone for so damn long, we're starting to not give a fuck if they come back. So I mentioned yesterday in the predictions that tonight would be a great place for them to return. And after FTR was able to survive and beat the Young Bucks, sure enough, as they're leaving, the lights go out, Copeland's music hits, he comes out there with a Cage and Cope t-shirt, Christian comes in from behind when his music plays, Unprettyer's Dax, Cope and Christian get in there, they clean house, they grab the AEW tag team titles, they hold them, and they stare down FTR, and there's a little stare down with the Young Bucks as well. So now we're finally going to get that match about a year after it was first put on our radar. About a year ago this time, we were all starting to think that Cope and Christian reuniting to win the tag belts in AEW seems likely, and it might even happen at All In last year. Here we are all the way in March. Next pay-per-view, I believe, is probably Dynasty, right? And then it's on to Double or Nothing. So Dynasty or Double or Nothing, I'm assuming it's going to be Cope and Christian versus FTR. Cope and Christian will then win the tag team titles, and maybe they will have a match with the Young Bucks. I'm sure the Bucks would love that. Also, now that Road Dogg has left WWE, you could sign him and reunite the damn Outlaws. And we got the Outlaws and Edge and Christian running around AEW. How fun would that be? But FTR did retain, and we started out hot with the return of Cope and Christian, and they will definitely win those tag team titles. Bet your bottom dollar. Next matchup was another one way better than I thought. Or I wouldn't say way better than I thought, but maybe it just slightly over-delivered, and that was Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir. Really liked what I saw out of Marina. This was a hard-hitting match here. I did not want to see Toni Storm lose because I thought that as much as I want to see Shafir be made into a big deal, Toni, I think, is too big of a star to drop a match here. She's not even in the title picture right now. So I was kind of hoping she would win. She looked great. I loved Toni's gear and her makeup and all that looked really awesome. And it was a hard-hitting ass match. Stiff-ass kicks. A lot of those just stiff spots, specifically the kicks from Marina Shafir and the hip attacks, a couple of them in the corner that looked just super gnarly. In the end, big package here for the win. After, I think Marina kicked out of a Storm Zero. Wait, she's Storm Zero and Ospreay's Storm Breaker, right? Storm Zero, pile driver. I think Marina survived that, and it turned out to be a big package there for the win, and Toni Storm picked up the win. Now, what was interesting here is that after the match, we had Ronda Rousey showing up, which was a huge surprise. She shows up in the ring, stare down with Toni Storm, and she winds up leaving with her buddy, Marina Shafir. Now, Rousey has passed through the AEW landscape once before. She worked Ring of Honor a couple years ago, or whenever that was. I feel like it's got to be at least 2 years ago now that she worked that Ring of Honor match. It was kind of like a one and done. I forgot what that even was. Was it a tag with Marina or something? So she's kind of been in the mix a little bit, but of course she's got the big match coming up, the big fight with Gina Carano. So, this publicity bleeding over to that, I guess that's good for AEW. I don't particularly love Ronda Rousey. Tonight on social media, Sean Ross Sapp brought up a good point as well about, Ronda Rousey's past comments about the Sandy Hook stuff, and it took her like a decade to apologize for that. So the fact that she is brought in, and that seems perfectly fine for WBD, but yet Trey Miguel wasn't allowed in. Why is one different than the other? The shit that she spread's pretty fucking awful. At least she admitted to it, but it took her a damn long ass time to do it, didn't it? So a little bit of a double standard there, but whatever. Rousey, we don't know. As we would see later, we would get one elite graphic on the Tron. We did not get one here for Ronda Rousey unless there is one that's been up since then that I haven't seen yet. So let me know if she's got the graphic, but I don't believe she has. I don't even know if Ronda Rousey's necessarily signed with AEW or if she's just going to be there a little bit. Now, they've already booked, apparently for Wednesday, a no-holds-barred match between Toni Storm and Marina Shafir. So that's probably another good opportunity for Ronda Rousey to show up. So I think we will probably see Rousey on Dynamite this Wednesday. Sounds like she might be in and coming in a little bit. So I guess welcome to AEW maybe, Ronda Rousey, but she is here, and that was kind of a shocker that she showed up there. After that, we had Jon Moxley defending the Continental Championship against Konosuke Takeshita in a no time limit match. And this one was another one that slightly over-delivered. I wasn't sure how much I was going to love this one. Yeah, I really like Takeshita. Oh, sorry about that. I really like Takeshita, but I was kind of worried that Moxley could retain here. I really like the idea of Takeshita potentially facing Okada at All In. If he would have won here, you could have done a unification with Okada. You can still do Takeshita and Okada. And I was a little bit disappointed in the outcome of this one, but in terms of the match, I think it over-delivered. The match quality in the ring was kind of better than I thought it would be. It certainly entertained me, much like the Bucks and FTR. It was bursting at the seams with near falls, crazy near falls, but it was a great match. Really enjoyed it. And in the end, after Takeshita was kicking out of everything, it was a choke out for the win. Takeshita just goes out, doesn't do the arm thing. He just kind of slowly closes his eyes. And referee calls for the bell. Jon Moxley retains. Hell of a good match there. Really enjoyed that. And then at the end, we got the return of Will Ospreay. So Will Ospreay showed back up. We've been hearing reports of him being at Dynamite, getting assessed by doctors, trying to work on getting cleared. It sounds like everything would be good to go for him to be back definitely by August for All In. But the lights went out here. They played a little video of Ospreay, and then the music played. Out he comes. Immediately attacks Jon Moxley. Death Riders come in. He fights off all of them. And Will Ospreay is back. Hell yeah. Went after Moxley, though. You know, Moxley's kind of a face now, and him and Takeshita even had the little show of respect here, as you see on the screen after the match. Takeshita wasn't sure if he wanted to do it, but then he came back, shook Moxley's hand, and that's when Ospreay showed up and just unloaded on Moxley and the Death Riders as they retreat. And it's good to see Will Ospreay back. So happy he's back. I'm glad that neck thing didn't keep him out very long. And hopefully he is 100% and can return to his previous performance level, which is pretty insane. And I just hope that if he is back now, as it appears to be, because he was getting physical, so I would assume that means he's cleared. I just hope that he's not coming back too soon, because, you know, that's a guy they want to put the world title on, and that's probably going to happen at All In this year. So hopefully he's back, good to go, and getting ready for one hell of a run. As a top guy in the company, welcome back, Will Ospreay. That was tremendous. After that, we had the AEW Women's Tag Team titles on the line. Babes of Wrath defending against Divine Dominion, Lena Cross and Megan Bayne. Now, this was a pretty easy one to predict. Even in the predictions yesterday, I said what's going to happen is Willow's going to retain on the 0 hour, but drop the tags later on. And that's exactly what happened. Now, Willow got dinged in the 0 hour, kind of injured herself, so the trainers had to assess if she was cleared. She was cleared, but just barely, so that already weakened the team. And Megan Bayne and Lena Cross did a good job of knocking out Willow for the most part and really put a beating down on Harley Cameron. But in the end, it was Willow who took the pin, big double choke slam that looked like it hurt like a bitch. The way Willow landed, she did something with her eyes, she was kind of damn, flat back, head first on the mat, just splat from the double choke slam. Really rough looking bump. And she went down, and now Megan Bayne and Lena Cross are your new AEW Tag Team Champions. That's great. I like Lena Cross a lot. And I like the idea that we kind of have counterpart tag teams in WWE and AEW, because we have Nia Jax and Lash Legend to large women as the WWE Tag Team Champions, and now we have Lena Cross and Megan Bayne as the AEW Women's Tag Team Champions, and that right there is kind of a dream match. I would love to see those 4 women mix it up, but congrats to Bayne and Cross, new AEW Women's Tag Champs. Not too much of a surprise there, kind of had that one pegged. After that, it was time for Swerve Strickland and Brody King. This one was rough. We knew it would have some violence to it. And like I said, I would have liked to maybe remove, a little bit of blood from the Bucks and FTR. Maybe take away, 20 or 30% of their blood and add a little bit here to Brody and Swerve, because I think this match could have used it based on everything they were doing on TV to build up to this. Doesn't mean it wasn't a violent match, though, or very hard-hitting. There was that bump on the floor that Brody King took. I forgot what Swerve hit him with, one of his signature moves, but the way he was coming down head and back first on that exposed floor after they pulled the mats up, I thought that Brody, based on the positioning of him, was going to crack his head open like a jar of pickles on the fucking floor. But luckily, when he landed, he's got so much beef to him that when he hit, it looked like his head was protected and all was good. But that one scared the hell out of me. It took 3 house calls to get it done. The third one finally putting down Brody, and I'm pretty sure he kicked out after one of them house calls. So I think we had a kick out at 1 in the Bucks match. I think we had one in Takeshita and Mox, and possibly one here too. I can't remember. But it feels like that was possible. In the end, though, it was the third house call for the win here, Swerve beating Brody King. That's the way that one needed to go down. But I almost feel like I would have rather seen Brody be put in some sort of a program where he could have a pay-per-view match here there where he won, some other star that maybe he's above, or somebody that he can beat to bounce back from the loss that he just had in Australia against MJF, and then going right into his next big show against another big star and losing again. I think it would have been better to have a bounce-back match for him and maybe have Swerve just hold off on this feud for the next one until 2 more months or something like that. But whatever, fun match. Still enjoyed it. And we, at this point, every match was delivering, or at least giving you what you expected from it. I wasn't expecting a ton out of the women's tag team title match, so my expectations were met, and this was another match where my expectations were met. It was pretty good. After that, another match I got wrong. This was the AEW women's title. Tekla, who I love. She is just tremendous. Love everything about this woman. She's defending the AEW world title in a 2 out of 3 falls match against former champion Chris Statlander. Went back and forth on this one too. Originally had Tekla retaining, and then changed my mind during the predictions yesterday and changed it to Statlander after I thought about how they could potentially put together the 3 falls, and of course the Triangle of Madness could make their presence known. But I thought Stat would kind of overcome the odds there and retain the title, but I am very happy that I was wrong. I'm glad that Tekla won here. She did pick up the first fall. She got a weird, really wonky type of pin near the ropes on Statlander, but Statlander put her foot on the ropes, but the referee, I think it was Paul Turner, he didn't see it. So Tekla got the first fall there. Statlander fought back to hit Sunday Night Fever and take the second fall. And then in the third fall, there was everything going on. Tekla, by the way, she's got amazing camera presence. She knows just what to do. She knows how to be a pro wrestler. She knows how to connect with the camera, connect with the audience, all of her little dances. I just thought she was great. She's sassy. She's not so much of a dancer as more of just a sassy shit talker. Just very much talking to the camera, very much playing up her character, very much staying true to her character throughout the entire match, and making sure that not only are her moves and motions in the ring, true to her character, but everything that she's doing facially with her voice and her whole entire presence is just dedicated to it. One of the best examples of this I can think of right now in wrestling. She is great. And as this match was going, I was hoping more and more that I was going to get this prediction wrong because I wanted to see her retain. And she did. We did wind up getting a ref bump. Triangle of Madness did come out there, but Statlander was able to fight them off. And Tekla winds up after Stat takes out Julia and Sky Blue. Tekla is able to recover, and I believe she hits like 2 really vicious stomps on Statlander to put her down for the 3rd fall and get the win. The stuff that they were doing in the match I thought was very hard-hitting, very believable, very strong. Some of those chest slaps and whatnot, they were just stiff as all hell. They were laying their shit in, and I thought everything was done really well in this match. I enjoyed it, and I am becoming a massive fan of Tekla. This match, to me, this is AEW's Rhea Ripley versus Stephanie Vaquer is the way I looked at this match. I thought it was great. So I had a good time watching that one. Happy that Tekla retained the title, and AEW has got themselves another one there, and they got a pretty solid women's division. So just stay the course, and Tekla, I think, can have a really fun reign here. And I think Tekla, they can succeed with Tekla maybe where they failed with Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter also got injured, and had to leave for a year and whatnot. But when she won the title, I thought that they were going to create a star out of her, and it just never panned out for whatever reason. Now Tekla, another relative sort of newcomer to AEW, is your world champion, and now she's retaining her title against your big stars on pay-per-view. That's great. That's awesome. So congrats to Tekla. Glad that she came out on top of that one. Here's one that kind of surprised me. The trios titles on the line. They took a long time to get to this match. I thought this match was going to open the show because we have 2 big trios matches on this card. We also have the trios tornado tag that was coming up later, which only 1 match separated these 2 trios matches. I would have put this one on first, and they jumbled them up too much here. But it was the Callis family defending the trios titles. It was Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis defending against Mystico and Jet Speed. Callis family just recently won these titles. So I was just under the wrestling fan assumption that they're probably not going to drop those titles that quick. Plus, you've got Kyle Fletcher in the match. You've got Okada in the match. But then again, Kyle Fletcher just put down Mike Bailey in a tremendous match one-on-one on Wednesday, so that could be a good setup here for the babyfaces to get a big win here. And they did. The match was fun. I was kind of not paying half attention to it because I wasn't expecting a title change, but as the match really got cooking, and it turned out to be good. All 3 guys were out there in masks, and Kevin Knight and Speedball both got unmasked. And the way that kept going and the match kept progressing, I'm like, oh, maybe there is a chance we could see a title change. And in the end, we got one. Very, very nice moment for Jet Speed and Mystico. As they win the titles and as they are celebrating, they post on the video wall the All Elite graphic for Mystico. So he is officially All Elite. He is officially under contract to AEW. We didn't get one when Ronda showed up, but we got one for Mystico. I think the crowd was really happy. They popped big for that. And welcome officially to Elite Land Mystico as he wins the trios titles with Jet Speed. Fun stuff there. Wasn't expecting a title change there, but then again, the trios titles, you can hot potato the fuck out of those, and I do not care. So I kind of like that Callis family just picked them up. Now they're going to drop them right away. Cool with me. Congrats, Mystico and Jet Speed. I'm a big fan of all 3 dudes. After that was the match that I had said yesterday in the predictions. Overall, I might be looking the most forward to, and that was Andrade versus Bandito inside the ring. I thought this was just going to be a tremendous match, and it absolutely was another match that completely lived up to my expectations in my head. And also, it was entertaining because not only were these 2 guys beating the hell out of each other and having a tremendous in-ring 5-star banger, but we had some comedy. Both guys ripped off their pants, and Andrade was sporting some little red Speedos. He even, during the match, went outside the ring twice to take pictures with attractive female fans, and I think one of them, he even gave him his digits, so he's kind of like this Lothario or this Mexican sexy boy. I don't know what he's trying to do, but I like it. And I had a blast watching this match. This was so much fun. Couple of scary moments there. There was that kind of like release German onto Andrade into the bottom turnbuckle, hit the back of his head, but he appeared to be okay. But, in terms of what we got out of this match, I thought if you were going to try to find a match in modern times on a pay-per-view that could maybe best bring up some of the similar feelings you got when you watched Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc 1997, I think this match could be a good example of that. And it was so much fun. Andrade getting the win in the end. Putting down Bandito, not a big surprise there, but Bandito really, really fought hard, and I thought that maybe I could get this prediction wrong too. Bandito came very close putting Andrade away a couple of times here, but in the end, Andrade, I believe, is a top star. I believe he believes it as well, and I feel like this is our best chance to see an actual push here for Andrade. He seems to be having a good time, liking this persona, liking the shit that he's doing with the fans on the outside of the ring, and he's just got a little bit more to him, a little more charisma, a little more presence, a little more character, and all of that is great. So Andrade, big win for him. Loved this match. Could easily go back and watch that one again. And you guys tell me what your favorite match was on the card. Maybe up until that death match, most fans would pick this one, but I think the death match really did over-deliver. But in terms of just a good old-fashioned pro wrestling match between a couple of great stud wrestlers, Andrade and Bandito gave us that. So props to them. Then we had that trios tornado tag that I thought was going to maybe open the show. It was Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong. They were taking on the Dogs. And I had originally in my predictions had the Dogs to win, but then after what we saw on Dynamite and what we've been seeing between all these men, Dogs have really been kind of dominant in getting the physical advantage over these guys for many weeks. I changed my pick yesterday in the predictions and decided to go with the baby faces, and that's what we got here. We basically got a couple of like interesting creative spots here. They they tied Darby's chain necklace thing that he has to the tag rope. So he was stuck in the corner for the longest time until Orange Cassidy fetched a toolbox from under the ring and got some scissors and cut him out of there. And then Darby and Gabe Kidd brawl up into the staging area, and they got the skateboard up there. Excuse me. They got the skateboard up there, and they're kind of battling with that. And then Darby throws Gabe Kidd off the stage, kind of lands on the floor down there. And then Darby takes the skateboard and basically kind of does like a coup de grace. Like Gabe Kidd is on the ground. He's bent over. Darby's above him, and he comes off feet first, skateboard first, and feet first down, like wheels first, on the back of Gabe Kidd's neck, which was just a violent spot for the sake of violence. I mean, Darby was taking some pretty sick bumps, obviously, as well here. But that one that Gabe Kidd took with the skateboard to the back of the head, that seemed rough. While they were down there, Darby winds up zip-tying Gabe Kidd to the underworkings of the stage there, and he's stuck and can't get out, putting his boys down to a 3-2 advantage in the ring, and we wound up getting the baby faces, getting the win there. Didn't write down the finish, kind of forgot, but Darby, OC, and Roderick Strong picked up the win. Happy to see that, happy to be wrong about that one, and the baby faces got the win in that one. That was match number 9. Match number 10, Hangman Page challenging MJF, Texas Death. Now, of course, we have the stipulation in this match that if Hangman Page loses, he can never again challenge for the AEW Championship. Now, we've already talked about how they can undo that. There's lots of different ways you can do it. This is pro wrestling. I wouldn't make any decisions on that yet. I would wait to see where Hangman is. And like I said earlier, there's a very good chance that Hangman Page, by the time they decided to undo all this, he will be a heel. And if he's a heel, he can do a heel thing to get the claws lifted. You know, where if he does it as a baby face, maybe it weakens him a bit. But doing it as a heel, no big whoop. But holy shit, did this match have everything. First of all, happy birthday to AEW World Champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He turned 30 years old today, and he's going to celebrate by having a Texas death match with the man who is known for Texas death matches. That's a fun way to spend a birthday. My 30th birthday was an absolute hoot. I think about it often. Had a blast. Beach party. So much fun. So much fun. MJF had a little bit rougher of a time here in Los Angeles in the Crypto.com arena. And shout out to MJF. Hangman came out first, and he had, a special little entrance there, different song. There's like a little horn player and all that. That was cool. But MJF had a whole full-ass video of him riding on a horse. I thought he was spoofing Hangman for a second, but the way he had the sash on and he had the cowboy hat, and then when he came out, he's wearing the Terry Funk pants. So he's coming out in some Terry Funk cosplay here, which I thought was really awesome because this is a Texas death match, and Terry Funk is from Texas, and I loved the tribute there to Funk by MJF. Like I said, we had everything you could imagine in this match in terms of the weapons that were used, in terms of the shit they did. It got arguably completely out of hand. Once we're done talking about this, I'll see what you guys said about it in the chat, and I want to read you some responses to my tweet when I was asking you guys, and I'm curious what you thought about that level of violence in this match, and if it was overdone. To me, it's not. To me, it wasn't overdone. Here's why I say that. AEW this October, or this May actually, is going to be 7 years old. Dynamite will be 7 years old this October. They've been around for a while now. We've had 7 years of pay-per-views from this company. And this is what they have established about themselves. This is how they do it. They pack matches onto pay-per-views. They give us a minimum of 4 hours of matches that are overbooked and overly violent. That's who they are. We lay down $40 or $50 for these pay-per-views, and they usually deliver. They always deliver for the most part. And every now and then you get a mediocre one, but it's rare. For the most part, AEW, this is their vibe. This is their theme. This is what they're all about. This is who they are. If you pay money to watch an AEW pay-per-view, you're going to get an assload of matches. You're going to get crazy overbooked matches as well, and you're probably going to have a lot of blood spilled. And then every now and then you'll have an anomaly. I don't remember what pay-per-view it was last year. It might have been Forbidden Door. I don't think there was any blood. Sometimes you have a pay-per-view in AEW where there's no blood. Other times there's blood in 6 out of the 10 matches. You just don't know. This is one of those nights where they really, really gave it to you. Revolutions have been like that. Last year it was the great blow-off between Mariah May and Toni Storm. The year before that it was the Darby Allin glass bump in Sting's retirement match. I mean, this is a wild, wild show, and this match lived up to every degree of what AEW tries to establish about itself. So from that standpoint, I have no complaints. I watch AEW knowing I'm going to get an extreme amount of violence. You know that going in. This is a Texas death match in All Elite Wrestling. We've seen Texas death matches in this company before. So a syringe shouldn't shock you. Blood shouldn't shock you. Glass shouldn't shock you. You got to know going into this that these things are going to happen. If you complain about them, then what the fuck did you watch for? Because you knew this was going to happen. So in terms of AEW, how they present pay-per-views, and some of the crazy things they do in their matches, this one, in my eyes as a wrestling fan, somebody who watches WWE and AEW, likes them both, you can never really have too much. I'm not like that. I'm not overly analytical. I'm not overly critical. I don't want to dissect a match 15 different ways. To me, just hit me with everything. I don't care. Overstimulate me. It's totally fine. I'm usually going to have few complaints. And if you're going to do a death match on pay-per-view in Los Angeles, in that arena, you better come to play, and holy fuck did they. So I'd say, once the match started, the first major thing we saw was the window pane. So we get an entire window brought out from under the ring, and I think it's Hangman that introduces it, and he kind of lays it up in the corner, and I guess he's going to ram MJF through it. But instead, MJF turns the tables, he grabs it, and he just breaks it in the middle of the ring so it can't be used, I guess, as a weapon. The problem is that left a pile of broken glass right in the middle of the ring. Max then takes a bump on it. You knew the first thing we were going to see is one of these guys taking a bump on it, probably Max, since he's the one who broke it. Hangman, I forgot if it was a body slam or a backdrop or whatever it is. He slams Max down back first on the broken glass, then rolls him over on his stomach and drags him around the ring, stomach first, shirtless in the broken glass. Now, one thing that starts to become apparent as Maxwell's being dragged around the ring is it's smearing like a white powder into the ring mat, which means it's not real glass. You look at Max's back and you look at his front, and there is no blood on him. So it was kind of a stupid spot because it was fake glass. I thought it was real glass. I was like, oh, they're going to use real glass here because they're sick and we're sickos. But it turned out to be fake glass. Hey, I can't complain about that. I'm glad that Maxwell didn't get carved up. But, you know, when you saw Darby take the bump at Revolution a couple of years ago, he was covered in blood. Here, Maxwell's being drugged around glass in the ring and he's not bleeding at all. So it was fake glass, but still kind of gnarly nonetheless. And then it was syringe time. Oh, my God. Again, we've seen a syringe. Swerve and Hangman busted out the syringe in the cage match, whenever that was, a while back. Now we have another syringe, which appears to be a real syringe with a needle and everything. And I'm having trouble even watching it. I'm like, God, no. And then you see Max open up Hangman's cheek. He sticks the syringe in. The needle comes out through the other side of his cheek, and then it stays in there. While Hangman is fighting off MJF, he's got that needle sticking through his fucking cheek. Oh, my God. I mean, at least needles are thin, and they can go. It probably hurt like a bitch, but, you know, it goes through. Nothing. There's one of those Jackass movies. Steve-O jumps off a boat he puts a fish hook through his cheek and then jumps off the boat and uses himself as bait. But this was a syringe. This was a needle, and it stays in Hangman for a while, eventually falls out, but I was losing my mind. I'll probably post a reaction to that tonight or tomorrow because that was tough to watch. So then we had the syringe. Then they introduce a barbed wire chair, a chair wrapped in barbed wire. And that did some damage to MJF. That actually stuck in his back. And if anything, the barbed wire chair made him bleed a hell of a lot more than the fake broken glass in the ring did. We also had a couple of tables on the outside of the ring. One of them you knew was going to result in a dead eye, which it did. So we had a dead eye to MJF through one table and a tombstone pile driver to Hangman Page through the other table. Both were very brutal bumps, especially the tombstone looked rough. So, you know, by this point, we've had bumps on piles of broken glass. We've had a syringe going straight through the cheek and out the other side of Hangman Page. We've had a chair wrapped in barbed wire. We've had dead eyes and tombstones through tables onto the outside of the ring. And now it's time to introduce a couple of lovely light tubes. Love these light tubes, the big, long, fluorescent light bulbs that you see in a backyard wrestling match in northwestern Pennsylvania. They're busting out here in AEW in Los Angeles. So out comes the light tubes. This is some Nick Gage shit. This is some backyard crazy shit, and this is a deathmatch staple. Light tubes. So Hangman has one, MJF has one. They are now kind of battling up the ramp with their lightsabers. We got Star Wars going on here. And Max winds up basically eating both of them. So he gets the first one across his back. So Hangman blasts MJF excuse me, across his lower back with the light tube, and he's instantly bleeding. So these are real light tubes. The glass in the ring clearly was not. And then Hangman takes the other light tube, measures MJF, and breaks it right over his head, which Maxwell by this point was already busted open. Now he's busted open more, and blood is trickling all down his face. He's got gashes in his head, gashes in his back, fucking bloody eyes. He had a bloody mouth to open up the match, like when they were first brawling and going out to the fans. He was busted open his mouth. He bit his tongue or knocked a tooth out or something right off the bat. So Max was tasting his blood early and frequently in this match. So then we got the light tube spot. Okay. So let's take inventory here. We had the fake glass. We had the syringe. We got the barbed wire chair. We got the dead eye and tombstone through the table. We've got the light tubes. Are we done? No, we're not done. It's time for the skewers. Yeah, you got to get the skewers. Of course. Of course you got to get the skewers. We've seen the skewers before. Moxley had pasta sticking out of his head a couple of times. Now it's MJF or Hangman going to take these skewers, but Hangman, I believe, is the one that introduces them. They battle with them for a little bit, and MJF, who already just got cracked on the top of the head by the light tube and is bleeding profusely, now gets a handful of wooden kitchen skewers poked into his head, and then Hangman uses his hand as a sledgehammer and jams them into the head flesh of MJF, and they're sticking out. And now he's got skewers sticking out of his head. Hangman Page then comes off the ropes, hits MJF with a buckshot lariat. He doesn't come off the ropes after the skewers get stuck in his head. I think he buckshots MJF, and when he buckshots him, the skewers come flying off his head just like the sonic rings. And somebody's probably already put it up on social media. I would assume somebody has made that video of the rings flying out of MJF because the skewers came flying out of his head. It was so great. So now we've got the fake glass in the ring. You got the syringe, the barbed wire chair, the dead eye, and the tombstone through the table, the light tube, the skewers, and now the dog collar. Hangman Page pulls out a chain with 2 dog collars attached to either end out from others underneath the ring. Attaches one collar to his neck, puts the other one around MJF as he screams, "Oh no, not again." And I guess the only dog collar match I think he's been in, right, is against CM Punk. So he had some PTSD here as he is now essentially in a dog collar match. So now they're battling with the dog collar around their necks. They battle up to the stage, and you knew something was going to go down. They're now up on the top of the stage, and they were already up there previously. And the last time they were up there, Excalibur and Shivani had mentioned the equipment. A lot of equipment over there. And now they're up there again. They keep mentioning the equipment, and over where all this equipment is, you can see like smoke coming up. So they've got like a smoke machine, and I called it. I'm like, they're going to do some sort of a bump where they're going to land and sparks are going to fly out. It's going to be the Mankind bump at Royal Rumble 99 where he comes off on the speakers and they spark. It's going to be something like that. Sure enough, that's what it was. It looked a little bit unnecessary, to be honest, but they both kind of dove off, double stage dive with the two of them through the table, and then a big pyro explosion on the soundboard, even as they're laying there, like 2 other little explosions go off. There's smoke rising and shit's a mess. So we had the fake window pane glass. We had the syringe through the cheek. We had the barbed wire chair. We had the dead eye and tombstone through the table. We also had the table with the big barbed wire board laid on top. We had a bump through that. We had the light tubes. We had the skewers. We had the dog collar. And now we had the exploding stage dive. Are we done? No, we're not. Not even close. What the fuck's wrong with you? Of course we're not done. We're now back in the ring. We're back in the ring, and these guys are now spent. They're face-to-face. We haven't gotten any interference yet. Here I'm expecting Swerve Strickland to come out and help out, possibly Wardlow showing back up and reuniting with MJF. Jay White, who tweeted out something cryptic today, kind of hinting that he could be returning as well. I think since we had so many returns, he might return on Dynamite. So I'm waiting for somebody to come out, but nobody ever is. And Hangman and MJF are face-to-face at this point, both covered in blood, both now trading blows. MJF goes down. Hangman goes out to the outside for the buckshot. He goes for it. MJF counters the buckshot, throws Hangman Page over the top rope. He's got the thing attached to his neck, and MJF hangs Hangman basically the same way Hangman hung Jon Moxley at All In, only this time he's got a dog collar. MJF grabs him, pulls the chain tight. He uses his foot for leverage on the rope, and he just pulls back until Hangman completely passes out, goes completely limp. He lets him go. Hangman falls face first to the floor, and he can't answer the 10 count, and MJF beats Hangman Page straight up, no interference, no help, did it on his own in a Texas fucking death match that got about as violent and overbooked as you could possibly do for a match like this. The only thing that was missing is a ton of guys running in and out, but in terms of everything you could possibly use, every weapon, every idea, every form of violence that you could come up with, they pretty much did. I mean, that's a ton of shit. The fake glass, the syringe, the barbed wire chair, the 3 different table bumps, including the one with the barbed wire board on top, the light tube, the skewers, the dog collars, the exploding stage dive, and the choke out until you pass out for the win. That was, to me, the epitome of Texas death. That's exactly what you should want out of a Texas death match. These two guys went out there and murdered each other, and MJF did it on his 30th birthday. Shout out to Alicia Atu. Poor girl. He's only 30. MJF did an interview this week, said he's got another 30 years left in the business. So you're going to be wiping blood off the hotel sheets for many decades to come, Alicia. Enjoy. But man, oh man, that capped off what I thought was a fun-ass show. We sat right here, watched the whole damn thing. Fun 4.5 hours of wrestling. And very little to complain about. When I look back at the card here, weak spots, none really. If anything, I would have maybe removed a match. I don't know if you needed the 2 trios matches, but they were both good. No match on the card really under-delivered in my mind. I think I got everything I was expecting. I think, like I said, the tag team match over-delivered. FTR and the Bucks, Tony and Shafir gave me more than I was expecting, and we got Rousey. Mox and Takeshita over-delivered. Babes of Wrath and Bane and Cross just met their expectations to me. Didn't expect anything great out of that match, and we didn't get anything great out of that match, but we did get new tag champs. That was good. Brody and Swerve, if anything, I liked the match a lot, and I don't know if I mentioned it earlier because it's in my notes, but after the match, they went for the cinder block spot on Brody King, and that's when Kenny Omega came out to make the save. So Kenny also showed up. I don't have a memory of talking about that earlier, so I think I forgot to bring up Kenny Omega showing up, and now I guess we're going to get maybe Swerve and Kenny at Dynasty, I suppose. But maybe with Swerve and Brody, I would have injected a little more violence, maybe take some of the blood away from the Bucks and FTR and put it in this match. But still, the match in the ring delivered, and it took 3 big house calls to get it done on Brody there. Tekla and Statlander, I thought, was tremendous as well, and I was pleasantly surprised with Tekla retaining the title there, and that 2 out of 3 falls match. Thrilled for Mystico, who got the All Elite graphic tonight after him and Jet Speed won the trios titles, and so I wasn't expecting that much out of that match. I thought it was going to be a guaranteed Callis family victory. It would be a good match to take a piss in, and instead it turned out to be a great match with a title change and a heartwarming moment at the end. Can't complain about that. Andrade and Bandito, everything I was expecting and then some. Tornado tag, that was about what I was expecting too. Wasn't expecting anything too crazy in that one, and that's a match I feel like they could have just put as the main event on Dynamite instead of putting it here, but still totally fine with the match, entertained by it. And of course, I think the main event was probably my favorite match on the show. It just had everything, and pretty much for the most part, I enjoyed the pay-per-view from top to bottom. Let's see what you guys had to say about it in the chat here. I also want to make sure I don't miss any super chats. I don't think I did. Not too many people left in here from the watch along too. I got a little under 100. By the way, if anybody hasn't hit that thumbs up button, please do so. Make sure you subscribe if you have not yet already. And thank you so much for being here for the Revolution review. And join us tomorrow as we're going to be here for a Raw review as well. Brock and Roman both on the show. Women's IC title match tomorrow night. Link is already up on the channel, so check that out. And join us tomorrow night for Raw as we will be back at it again. Mike has got 5 for us earlier. Thank you for that super chat drop earlier on, Mike. Thank you very much. The only thing I can think of is they're making Max a bigger deal, so it would be more impressive when Will beats him at Wembley. Well, yeah, but I wasn't expecting him to lose the title anyway, but I was expecting a little bit of help, and, he got it done on his own. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Hangman has to go heel down the road. But Max coming up big here, that is a big deal for him and his character, and that really makes him somebody, a force to be reckoned with. He's not one of those champions like Kurt Angle was when he first won the title in 2000. He was surviving all of his title matches. He's doing it on his own. Max has now transitioned from goofy Kurt into get it done on his own Kurt, which Kurt Angle went through that transition. So now Max is into that role of being a world champion that you absolutely have to take seriously. He's not going to be overmatched and have to survive these matches. He's winning them, and people are now going to have to survive him. And that's good for him, good for his character, and good for his standing as a world champion in pro wrestling. That's good. Mega Teddy, you were at the show. Fun. It was fun live. Really wish I could have been there. I mark my words. Next Crypto.com show for AEW, I will attend it. I promise you. I promise you. Oh, yeah, good point, Juliet. Claudio actually did the deed with Ospreay's neck with the stomping on the chair. So we might see Mox out of the Death Riders sooner rather than later. Yeah, there has been a lot of talk about, Moxley getting turned on by the Death Riders. Some of these, most of these grades I'm seeing are A's and B's. I can live with a B grade if you want to give it a B. I won't fight you on it. AJ, is just not for you. I'm assuming you mean the violence in the Texas death match. Yeah, it is not for everybody. But like I said, at this point, with AEW being around for 7 years, you should never go into a pay-per-view or any sort of a show that you're going to watch from AEW and then get surprised by the amount of violence. I think they've established what they do sometimes and how you need to expect pretty much on any given show that they run that there's going to be some gory blood and guts. I mean, they have a show called Blood and Guts, for fuck's sake. So I think it's stuff that you come to expect. That might be a turnoff for some fans, since this is tending to be their identity. Maybe it is a turnoff for fans, and I'm totally fine with that, because I think everybody should be allowed to like what they like and not like what they don't like. But yeah, that level of violence can be a bit much for some. Thank you, Zane. Yes, I will peek at that email. Absolutely. I don't know why I'm calling it crypto. I call X Twitter. I don't know why I stopped calling it the Staples Center. I need to, because I'm always going to remember it as the Staples Center. And I've been to the Staples Center a few times, and I like it up there, and it sucks that it changed. Crypto.com. Fuck off. Oh, man. But anyway, I think I'm going to get out of here because it's been a long one. It's been a very, very long one. I am beat. I am tired, and I've got to have some dinner and whatnot. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out this evening. Thank you to everyone who was here for the entire review and the watch-along. We're now pushing 5 hours and 38 minutes. No, I'm sorry, almost 6 hours if you count when I started up. So I'll probably crop out the watch-along portion of this, just leave the review up, and then give you guys some reaction vids here in the next day or so once I get back in front of the computer screen. But yeah, I think that's going to be a wrap on AEW Revolution Sunday. Thank you so much for hanging out this evening. It was so much fun. And make sure you're here tomorrow night after Raw. We're not going to do a watch-along, just a review. We'll be here tomorrow night after Raw because I think Brock Lesnar is going to have his open challenge answered. And I think Roman Reigns is going to bring up Larry the Dog. And we're going to want to talk about that tomorrow. So make sure you join us. Thanks again for all of your hours of hangout tonight. I appreciate it. And I will be catching y'all tomorrow night after Raw. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Peace.